Now, let's get to the story I know a lot of people are waiting for. The recent firing of Briahna Joy Gray, which doesn't surprise me. I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner, because Bri's been using her platform to unapologetically expose Israeli lies, including the mass rape hoax that we've exposed on the channel, that I must give much respect and admiration to the Gray Zone for doing amazing investigative reporting that Western media outlets are just now catching up to. The Intercept stole their reporting, so you always got to give them respect. But you have the Times of London. I'm gonna show you guys. They completely disproven this mass hoax story. The New York Times had a article disproving this. I'm talking about mainstream sources, and despite mainstream sources and organizations look into this and find it to be bullshit, you had the mainstream media, you have the both wings of our establishment that was still pushing this as fact. Not Briahna Joy Gray. She didn't. She just reported on the fact that the mass rape hoax was disproven. So after months and months of trying to shame her, the Hill finally fired. I'm surprised it took this long, my friends. So I just read her tweet. It finally happened. The Hill has fired me. There should be no doubt that the Rising the Hill has a clear pattern in suppressing speech. Yeah, it's corporate media. That's what they do, particularly when it's critical of the state of Israel. And yeah, they did fire Katie Halper as well. And that was, remember, that happened way before.
That was last year. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a history of this happening. I remember there was a big debate on whether Bri should stay or leave, and Bri decided to stay, which I think was the move, because she exposed a lot of. It was to the point where they had to get rid of her. And I want to get your thoughts on this, but because Bri is explaining and everyone's explaining, this is a coordinated effort to remove her from her position. It's not even a conspiracy theory, because they're openly admitting it. Like, they just one of many organizations, Stop Anti-Semitism, is a giant genocidal pro-Zionist account. Fantastic news. The Hill has finally fired rabid anti-Semite Briahna Joy Gray for standing for the Palestinian people who's Semitic. Stop Anti-Semitism has been calling on the Hill to part ways with Gray for weeks. And imagine how many organizations that have been doing the same thing. Here and there openly admitting that they've been running a campaign to get Briahna Joy Gray fired. Zionism is the greatest threat to the free speech rights and the financial security of Americans. Dr. CBS, have anything you want to add before I continue?
I think that it is a little bit surprising that she lasted so long on the Hill, especially after what happened to Katie Halper. I was looking at some comments. She posted it on Instagram. I was looking at some comments and people were like, it's not because of or it's not because of your critique of Israel. It's because you rolled your eyes when the family member of a hostage talked about the Hamas raping and all this shit. So it's interesting to see people's rationalization for why it is that she was fired. And, this is financial terrorism. People losing their jobs for what is supposed to be protected speech is financial terrorism. And I feel like people across the ideological spectrum should stop reveling in this with the ways that life is increasingly unaffordable and labor is under attack. People should really stop reveling in anybody losing their job, because it is a form of class warfare and financial terrorism. So I hope that Bri lands on her feet. I have no doubt that she'll find another position. She also has, her supporter on Patreon or whatever she said. But I think that this is a much broader, again, this is a labor issue. This is a much broader issue that we all need to care about, but also keep that. And I do feel this way too. Keep that same energy when it comes to like right-wing folks losing their job. We should never celebrate people losing their jobs for exercising their free speech, because it's always going to come back on the left. It's always going to redound back to the left, because the U.S. hates the left, right? It's only at certain inflection points that the right wing will get a fraction of what happens to anybody to the left of liberals all of the time. And so I think that we need to be very, very mindful of that.
I'm so happy you said that. We've been warning people, my friend. We've been warning people about celebrating this authoritarian capitalists pushed for financial retaliation towards dissidents. Because when you have the collaboration between the state and capital to go after dissidents, that's a primary factor of fascism. You need that collaboration between the capitalist class, capital, and the state. And that's literally what we're seeing with the mass cancel culture around the Zionist project, that the collaboration between the capitalist class with the state going after anyone criticizing the foreign. That is fascism. Like, we define stuff on this show. And this is the moment, I'm glad you brought this up, where this is what they finally had the excuse to fire. As you guys see, they've been lobbying for this for a while, where you had this propagandist. They've been going on this offensive against Bree, trying to get rid of her for a while. So they brought this propagandist on, and I don't care what her relationship with the hostages is. She's a propagandist, because Bree was just simply asking her basic questions like, "Hey, what do you think of?" Since you got a family member who was a hostage, what do you think of Israel constantly turning down ceasefire proposals? And then after there was no legitimate response to that, she went into the Israel propaganda line. Oh, you gotta blame Hamas. You gotta blame Hamas. If you went for Hamas, they're gonna start another 9/11. And she really said that, guy. So despite the fact that we covered how the mass rape hoax was exposed, they bring this lady on to try to shame Briahna Joy Gray, and Bree wasn't having it. And I think this is funny. Oh, let me unmute it.
That you, thank you, me too. And I really hope that you specifically will believe women when they say that they got hurt.
All right, thanks for joining. Stick around. More Rising coming up next.
Now you guys see why I can't have corporate media job. I would do worse than that. Caitlin Johnstone says, "My eyes," and I'm gonna read her response because I don't want to get canceled, because I will. Caitlin says, "My eyes would have rolled so hard it would have taken a team of surgeons to extract them from the back of my skull." So we are supposed to believe your guys' unhinged propaganda campaign smearing Palestinians as rapists that you're doing to justify your genocide, after I just showed you guys the story of the IDF and people in Israel mass raping Palestinian men? There's clear documentation of this. Where's the crocodile tears over that? You have Israel that actually engaged in institutionalized sexual violence, and then they project that on their enemies, because that's what they do. They project their sick use of sexual violence on the Palestinians. And apparently you're anti-Semitic if you don't accept this premise. So, man, she's lucky that she only got an eye roll. So, Dr. CBS, is there anything you want to respond with before I continue?
This is just the grossest identity reductionism, like, believe women. And so just notice how, like, the right wing and the Zionists are taking sort of, I guess, liberal or progressive talking points and repurposing them to justify the intensification of this genocide. And so, again, we need to be very careful with how we wield these things, because then they're up for grabs, number one. And number two is, okay, if we're pushing the believe women line, what about the Palestinian women whose lives have been torn apart, who are actually being subjected to manifold forms of violence, sexual and otherwise? So but we don't believe those women. So it's just, it just was the worst identity reductionism, a way to sort of, just absolutely absurd. And I think it's right to say that she's lucky all she got was an eye roll, because she really was trying to like a gotcha moment for Bree. And Bree was just like, okay, goodbye.
Yeah, that's why they mad at Bree, because Bree didn't fall for it. For a second time, I'm not showing you guys more exchanges, but the entire segment was designed to bring this lady on to shame Bree. And Bree dismantles her, because there was a point where she asked her about, all right, what do you think about Israel constantly turning down these ceasefire deals that only put the hostages in more danger? Hamas, I'm going to show you guys. I got one clip I'm going to show you guys, actually. But she's like, Hamas is going to start 9/11. They brought a psychopath on the hill, and Bree destroys her. It does not go the way they planned, so then they get Bree fired as a result. And that is literally the explanation about what happened. If anyone tells you anything different, they're wrong. Bree was supposed to fail in that interview. She did not. She embarrassed her, and she was fired for it. Here's Ryan Grimm, one of many people who sharing the Times of London, and I'll just use his summary just for the sake of time. They in this major investigation in the Times of London, I guess like their New York Times, they explain how there's no fucking evidence for the mass rape hoax. And what is this mainstream story? Oh, look at them. Beautiful.
She's a girl. Yeah, it's a girl. It's at this age, it's hard, so people think she's a woman. She's a girl.
I'll probably say that soon, but beautiful, beautiful baby.
Thank you.
Man, I'm thrown off. The cuteness threw me off there. But you gotta see, this is like the 6th mainstream media article that debunked the lie about the mass rape hoax. Now, I mean, it's something that I had to be very careful about. I was very much, I make sure I did a ton of reading, a lot of fact finding, especially as a man come out saying there was no rape. Guys, before I came out on RBN and saying there was no rape, I looked at all the evidence available to me. Look, all the mention, I kept my eyes open. There's no evidence. And the only thing you accomplish by pretending there's evidence, like Marianne Williamson, all these progressive except Palestine people, all these people on the left who pretend they support Palestinians but willing to go along with this, the only thing you're doing is helping Israel project their sick sexual violence onto Palestinians. That is what they're trying to do. There was no mass rape of Israelis. There are mass rapes of Palestinians. Israelis steal so much from Palestinians, they even steal their fucking stories of mass violence committed against them. There's so much documentation over the course of the last few decades about IOF, Israeli sexual violence. But it was projected on the Palestinians, and a large amount of white America believed them because, of course, the Arabs are rapists. That's how white America, Europeans, Western society have been able to get away with their atrocities for generations. Just accuse the people they're committing atrocities of being rapists. The same thing they did to black men. We're the black men who wanted to rape the white women. The Native Americans who were the barbarians who wanted to rape the white women so that we got to genocide them. Are you guys seeing the pattern?
Meanwhile, nobody gives a fuck about the RSF in Sudan actually using rape as a weapon of war, where rape is actually being used as a weapon of war. Nobody cares. But it's part of that same racist universe whereby nobody, Africa is supposed to be this land of, savagery and destabilization and disease, etc. So nobody cares when it's happening there. Like, where are your liberal tears, or where's your liberal outrage when it's actually happening as a weapon of war?
Yeah, you have like so many like soldiers in Iraq. I think Trump I didn't remember this guy's name. This second time I forgot this guy's name. There was one of these soldiers that Trump pardoned that was convicted of like raping. They killed his family in Iraq and raped the little girl, something like that. I'll pull the story up for you guys one day. I promise you guys I'm not making this up. But Trump pardoned this guy. And there was like this mass campaign where there's all these Iraqi women that was raped, and all the Israeli campaign where they rape. So they always project what they do on the enemies. Everything they told you about Hamas is true of Israel. Hell, everything. And since I think there's a good transition, I'll show you guys the hypocrites on the right as we begin to wrap up. I know you got a beautiful child you got to take care of here very soon. Zionists project everything, even the small stuff. Even the culture war, and I've been explaining this to people, or I've been trying to, since the whole cancel culture psyop was started. I was like, guys, the leading driver of the cancel culture is the right. It's Zionists, and that's what I meant by the right when I said, because everyone who's a Zionist inherently is on the right. I consider Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all these liberals that idiots call on the left, they're actually on the right. Obviously, you understand that. But when they project, they do it in every sense of the term, because remember, the Zionists, they projected cancel culture on the left, and I remember during the early age of what we previously known as Fred Hampton lynchers. I'm like, God, cancel culture, what are you guys talking about? I don't know anyone who wants people to lose their job. That was my original take about, like, this whole cancel culture shit is not real. I'm like, I don't know anyone who wants people to lose their job over their opinion. It's this. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just hanging around base people. Never was a thing to me. But then I changed my narrative to cancel culture is not real, to cancel culture exists on the right. When you see people being canceled over the position over Israel, here's Dave Rubin, someone who made, and I'm just using him as an example because he's the most well-known example of this. Because if you was to scroll Bree's tweet, which he announced in this, when you look at the trend line where people talk about Bree being fired, there is a horde of right-wingers celebrating. I thought that was, I mean, there are people on the right that became multimillionaires rallying against cancel culture. And I'm using Dave Rubin just because he's just one example. That's all. Dave Rubin, in response to Bree being fired, says, it couldn't happen to a worse person. And now here's the back pedal. Not every firing is cancel culture. So the point I'm making here is, you guys see how the right wing projected this cancel culture nonsense on the left when it was always a tool of the capitalist class in order to retaliate against workers who won't fall in line. Anything else you want to add, Dr. CBS, and we can begin to wrap up here soon.
I do think liberals do believe in cancel culture. A lot of them just don't have the power or authority or the organized ability that Zionists and the right wing have. But and I can only speak in the context of academia. At the height of George Floyd, there were several like conservative professors who students were pushing to lose their jobs. And I just was never. I cautioned that, right? Like that, to your point, we should not celebrate people losing their jobs, because any tool that becomes codified is always going to be boomerang and be used on left-wing folks, right? Or folks who can be construed as such. And I think that we're seeing that happen in real time. But I do think, to your point, the people who use identity politics the most, the people who use cancel culture the most, are absolutely Zionists, without a doubt. And so I think that that's something that it's important for you to lift that up.
Yeah, for sure. Especially these liberals who are definitely right wingers. That's how I classify liberals to be on the right wing. Whenever they talk about cancel cultures, I'm like, yeah, that's what the right wing does. the liberal class does. They were more than happy for us to engage in cancel culture to divide class solidarity. They're more than happy to apply cancel culture to anything that threatens their power and their class, which is why they go along with anti-Semitism hopes. They're more than happy to, and I see just one of many Negro sellouts, like Hakeem Jeffries. I know you've seen this coordinated effort where they try to tie Zionist Jewish community with Black people. When they say, "Oh, we have a long history," no, we don't. Shut the fuck up. We have a long history of opposing. Go ahead, Dr.
No, there's a long history of Black support for Israel. So somebody like W.B. Du Bois, somebody like Martin Luther King, and that support generally started to shift after the Arab-Israeli War, and so. But this is why we support movements, not individuals, because nobody's a perfect revolutionary. Nobody's a perfect radical. People can have bad takes. And just because somebody we respect had a position doesn't mean that we have to have a position. And we have way more information in 2024 than W.B. Du Bois had, for example, because he saw the treatment at the height of Nazism. He saw the treatment of Jews and so thought that they deserved a particular homeland. There are Black people, Black nationalists who saw Israel as the realization of a nationalist project that Black people were striving for. So there was Black support, but certainly by the 1960s, the overwhelming majority of all Black anti-imperialists and the overwhelming majority of Black movement folks were absolutely pro-Palestine and were absolutely anti-Israel. And so I think that we need to be honest about that. But just, I don't give a fuck what, King had to say about Israel. He not, that has no bearing on my position, our research. And just, if you have any sort of eyes whatsoever, you see what's happening. I don't care what Martin Luther King thought. I care what needs to be done now. and Hakeem Jeffries and all of them, like, they don't give a fuck about Israel outside of getting all that money from AIPAC. Like, let's be honest. So they're just completely disingenuous.
Yeah, and I'm glad you bring that up. When I look at the time now, when you look at the main driver of Zionism, you have white evangelical Christians in majority. When you look at even Black and Latino communities, you see an overwhelming rejection of Zionism. But in the early days, because this is what Zionists still try to use, there was a lot of confusion among radical movements, among the pro Black liberation struggle movements around Zionism. Also, remember, because it was still relatively young, information was look at how Zionists use information warfare today. And now imagine not having as much access to information. That's why I guess we don't have to forgive, but I try to be very lenient, because there was a lot of confusion back then. There was a lot of miscommunication. There was a lot of information warfare being waged. But as you guys see, as time continued, as people continue to get more and more data about the failed Zionist project, you see people of color start to flip, which I'm glad happened for sure. This is the last thing I'm gonna show you guys. I'm gonna show you guys the person that used to fire Brie, who was essentially unhinged the entire show. And for a second, I found it because this clip is definitely worth sharing. I'm glad my friends at Hotspot was able to find this for me. Where she essentially saying that we're gonna have another 9/11. She go on all these insane fucking rants. She threatens another 9/11 if we don't help stop Hamas, which says a lot. But anyway, let's watch this clip. And this is the psychopath that we're supposed to be feeling some sort of solidarity with. She says there's a terror organization controlling the free world, meaning anyone who's stand opposed to bombing children are being influenced by a terror organization. But she's just getting warmed up, friends. I just want to show you guys the person who Bree rolled her eyes at. I would be having some issues at this point. I would have headaches. I've been rolling my eyes so hard by the time I hit the end of this interview.
But I mean, but also, at what point?
Can you hear the video? I think I'm hearing something.
No, you can't. You can't hear the video. There was no sound.
All right, it's a glitch. Sorry, I'm glad that I saw it. Sorry, it's a glitch that happens sometimes. Now let me fix it. But I know you wanted to chime in, so as you chime in, I'm gonna fix the video.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, at what point? Bree didn't have to do that interview. Like, at what point do we have integrity by not platforming these people? And if the Hill insisted, why does she have to do the interview? I don't know. And I never understood. Like, Mark Lamont Hill would do this and talk to these fucking rabid Zionists. At what point do we, if we care about, like, if we're standing 10 toes down with Palestine, like, at what point do we exercise our right to refusal and to not even engage in these asinine conversations?
That's a great point. And you gotta notice I haven't debated Zionists on this channel. You gotta know I love debates. I'm a big debate bro in some ways. I love discussing ideas with people I disagree with. I had a debate with her colleague you guys saw on the screen, her Robbie Swab, about communism. I debated with Destiny, and during those debates, I had a great time. I enjoy debating issues I don't agree. But I made a decision not to debate Zionists because it's like, bro, I don't even want to platform that garbage. As much as I want to show you guys how I could dismantle Zionists, there's a responsibility where I don't even want to that's a waste of time. And now this is what you said is an argument why we shouldn't take corporate media jobs. Like, this is why you don't take corporate media job, because the Hill 100% gave her an order. They booked this guest for her to bring her on. She had no choice on that. But feel free to chime in, Dr. Steve. I know you want to chime in. Go ahead.
Somebody in the chat said it would not have been a good look. Getting fired is not a good look. And the thing is, and it's not as if she's able to really grill her, right? Or really discredit her in the way that would need to be done with all of these just completely unhinged talking points. And so, like, you've heard of conscientious objection, haven't you? What is not a good look about that, right? And people, clearly her politics align with just not even wanting to engage in nonsense. So I don't know. I mean, she's going to be called anti-Semitic either way. She'd be called anti-Semitic if she refused to talk to her. She's called anti-Semitic much more and lost her job for engaging with the woman. So, you know, I just wonder if we forget that that's always a refusal is always an option.
Yeah, I told you guys many times, I'm beyond the point of debate. I'm ready to throw hands. You're not going to convince me it's okay to bomb children, bro. Like, the fuck out of here. I gotta be careful what I say because I'm on YouTube, but I'm been beyond the point of debating, my friend. I don't know what I would do if I'm ever confronted with these Zionist psychopaths in real life. You know, the crazy, violent Zionist videos. You guys know I'm fucking waiting for that shit to happen, right? But anyway, I'll be careful. Let's watch the video in full and we begin to wrap up. I know you. I appreciate your time that you spent on RBN. We definitely gotta have you on again. A lot of great inputs. Let's watch this video. I'm gonna check the super chat, and we will begin to wrap up.
This is not okay that we have terror organizations that's controlling the free world and people in the West letting it happen and stay on the streets, killing the hostages now, or Israelis must die. What did I do wrong? What did my sister did wrong? Nothing.
You guys are settlers, for one. But anyway, I can list your sins if you want me to do it. And once again, Bree was simply asking her a question like, hey, man, what about Israel denying hostage deal? How about Israel killing all the hostages? And now she going on this insane rant saying that if you support a free Palestine, you want her dead?
Nothing. We did nothing wrong.
Well,
this was happening inside our own country.
It's not your country. See, that's what you did wrong. I'm sorry, I wasn't supposed to stop it, but you got to see how fucking... We did nothing wrong. You stole the Palestinian land. You being there. You guys see why I struggle? And I say many times struggle with the concept of an innocent Israeli. You're a settler colonial. You inherently did something wrong. Imagine breaking into someone's house. They reply to you like, no, I ain't did nothing wrong. You motherfuckers tell you I ain't did nothing wrong. You're not supposed to be here. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'll let it finish. I know you want to try me. I'll let it finish this time. And I promise God I'll let it finish this time. And then I'll give your last thoughts. Man, she's so annoying, isn't she?
Nothing. We did nothing wrong.
Well,
this was happening inside our own country. Yeah. And if the world won't help us, we will see 9/11 the second time in the U.S. as well. But we can already see in the United States, in Michigan, rallies that's calling death to America. Not condemning terror organizations in Israel or any other place, in fact, is reflecting to your country as well.
I'm just going to push back against the implication that in Michigan, which has the largest Muslim and Arab population in America, that there is any threat of terrorism from our own people. And I would like to clarify also that one of the rationale that was presented for 9/11 was discussed with America's support of Israel's continued occupation of Palestine. So that's neither here nor there. I really do hope that Netanyahu agrees and Israel agrees to the ceasefire deal that could bring all the hostages, including your sister, home. And I'm sure many people watching are praying for her safety.
This is the conversation that got Bree fired, my friends. When I see one unhinged maniac on this panel, she was so crazy. Even Robbie was, you guys, I saw people in comments, even he was cringing. It's almost like Robbie went in the chime like, whoa. Taking it too far here. But anyway, Dr. CBS, anything else you want to add? This is the maniac that people said that Bree mistreated. After hearing from her, I will roll my eyes 1,000 times a Sunday. Listen to her. But CBS, I appreciate your time. Any last thoughts on this topic?
I would just caution on calling these people psychopaths and sociopaths, which are actual medical conditions. I think, you know, we have a lot of pop psychology where everybody's a narcissist or a psychopath. I think that these are rational imperialist settlers. And so I don't think that she has any mental illness. Unless imperialism, unless colonialism is a mental illness, which we can debate or not, but I think calling them psychopaths or sociopaths actually lets them off the hook, because those are actual conditions. Those are actual like malformations that have to do, you know, anyway, that come from a host of things. But like that is settler rationality. That is colonial imperial rationality. And so I just wanted to add that. And
that's shout out to Bree. I am left speechless witnessing their evil. Which is why I apply. You're 100% right, though. I think that's a great point, but continue.
Yeah, and so I just, shout out to Brie. I hope Brie lands on her feet. Shout out to her for keeping what composure she was able to keep. The other thing I do want to point out, though, and just as a general statement, we're often put in the unenviable position of defending folks whose politics we don't necessarily agree with, because of the rampant sort of right-wing and state repression. Now, this may or may not apply to Brie, but I'm thinking, for example, of Claudine Gay at Harvard. So many people are defending her because of the use of anti-Semitism to challenge DEI, we are in an unenviable position of defending, even though these are not our politics. And so I think that it's an interesting contradiction or conundrum that we're defending people, because Claudine Gay, for example, she was no defender of pro-Palestinian organizers or protesters. She did not defend those students that got doxxed on that truck, which were primarily Black and brown students. And nonetheless, people were put in the position to defend her. And so I think that that's something that we need to consider as well, is like holding two things together at once.